Hello, I'm Kemil, and this is Kem with Kem. We're gonna do things differently today. No, today is being celebrated as a World Ocean Day. No, in working out or in going through the May-June CSEC chemistry paper 2 for 2023, I came across a question that, in answering, pull something, I had to pull something from when I was in fifth form at York Castle High School, the best high school in Jamaica. No, the question asked about um it says we should discuss two harmful effects of plastic on marine life. And it just started a chain reaction in my mind. And I mean, for one, I love land, I love the water, but I prefer land. I love the land. I'm for cleaning up the land. I'm for cleaning up the water as well. I prefer land, but it just hit me while just going through it. Just hit me, and I decided that we probably should take a break from looking at things at the atomic level or the molecular level and look at things in a real life. Chemistry does not take place in a vacuum, in isolation. So I'm going to quote something from the CXC chemistry syllabus. Chemistry is concerned with the physical and chemical properties of substances and the interaction of energy and matter. So the study of chemistry involves an investigation into chemical reactions and processes. The discipline seeks to explain and predict events at the atomic and molecular level. We cannot get too caught up, end quote. We cannot get too caught up with the atomic and molecular level that we forget the macroscopic level, the real life applications level, where the impact of what happens at the atomic and molecular level affect us in a real life. I'm going to quote again. So, through the principles of chemistry, students will understand everyday life, nature, and technology, and the significance of the well being of man and the environment. Well, I live in Jamaica. I choose to live in one of the most beautiful places in the world. Yes, Jamaica. And yes, I teach chemistry at a high school right here in Jamaica. Where am I going with this? As I said, the question, it actually it hit a chord with me, no pun intended. Today being June 8th, which is celebrated as World Ocean Day. Join me. Let us look at this question and see if we can find the answers to what's being asked. And let's see if there are other things that we should have also asked here. Taking things from the simple or from the atomic and molecular level. Are there other things that we should have the students thinking about as it relates to policy and how we could actually improve or get more persons involved in taking care of the environment? All right, so let us go right into it. Right, so the question says, part B, part 1 of B, or B, the Caribbean Sea and many oceans around the world have been found to be polluted by solid waste, mainly in the form of plastics. State 2 examples of plastic waste that are commonly found in the seas and oceans for 2 marks. And the next section, or the next part, discuss 2 harmful effects of plastics on marine life. So let us see if we can actually derive these answers as we go forward. This on World Ocean Day. Did you know that marine plastic pollution has increased 10 times since 1980, affecting at least 267 animal species, including 86% of marine turtles, 44% of seabirds, and 43% of marine mammals. Now, whenever we talk about plastic, we hear a lot about microplastic, and we hear that microplastic has been found in fish, and since plastic is pretty much non-biodegradable, or most of the plastic is non-biodegradable, when you have them undergoing weathering or mechanical degradation, you find that they still end up in one fish eaten by a bigger fish, and so on, and eventually it goes up the food chain. But today we're going to switch a little bit from what happens to plastic over time when it breaks down mechanically, and it can eventually end up back into us, when we consume our different fish or whatever it is after bioaccumulation would have taken place. We're going to focus directly on what happens before the larger pieces of plastics, before they break down. So we're going to be looking at how they affect marine life directly. All right, the plastic that we have, as we saw in the slide earlier, it could be plastic bottles, it could be plastic bags, it could be fishing nets, fishing line, it could be anything. Any of those would give us the marks, but we're not so focused on the marks now. Anything could have been derived from common sense to answer that. Now, large marine mammals are highly vulnerable to plastic entanglement, particularly from ghost fishing gears. You lose a piece of gear, fisherman doesn't take it up, it just stays. Fishing ropes, nets, and pots that have been discarded or abandoned at sea are often made from plastic and can trap and entangle a variety of marine life, from blue whales to small crabs. Now, according to the Flora and Fauna International, an estimated 300,000 whales, dolphins, and porpoises a year die from ghost gear entanglement. Marine megafauna are also vulnerable to plastic ingestion. Now, in 2019, one whale was found washed up with 40 kilograms of plastic in its stomach, predominantly comprising of plastic bags. For those who are wondering, you can check out what a porpoise is. I had to check it out. I thought it was really tortoise that they were referring to, but you actually have a porpoise. Check it out. As a matter of fact, this is what it looks like. It's a small toothed whale with a low triangular dorsal fin and a blunt rounded snout. I mean, I've seen a narwhal in a book at some point, but never seen this one. So that's what that looks like. All right. Now, this is serious. This is serious. This is not just entanglement, but there are other issues are arising. There are other problems that these marine organisms encounter. I think this graphic probably sums it up nicely. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, so I'm not gonna say anything there. You can pause and you can look back to see what's happening here. But yes, man, we have to do something. We can't just leave it there. So that's one way that animals are affected. Marine animals are affected. All right, so this is showing entanglement. That looks like a dolphin and it's trapped. This looks like some ghost fishing gears. Okay, so different marine organisms, different marine animals can be affected in different ways. Now, turtles, they often mistake plastic for food. Plastic bags look similar to jellyfish, which is the staple diet of leatherback turtles, and fishing nets can look like delicious seaweed. When turtles eat plastic bags, it can make them feel full, eventually leading to starvation. A recent study found that all 7 species of sea turtle from the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans and the Mediterranean Sea had traces of microplastics in their guts. Sea turtles also fall victim to entanglement from 6-pack rings, which can get caught around their shells and necks. This one, I learned this in social studies class from Mrs. Brown Edwards. It came up in a discussion. Some animals, they go into a container, they may have container might have some debris or food material or even other smaller organisms. When they go in, they actually sometimes get trapped, and they stay in there and eventually die. So that's what's being depicted here. Now, for centuries, seabirds, we might not think of them as a part of marine life, but they actually fall into marine life, seeing that they feed on the beach. Now, for centuries, seabirds have fed from the surface of the ocean, swooping down and scooping up small fish and algae. It's no surprise then that seabirds are now mistaking small plastic fragments that sit on the water's surface for food. So when ingested, these small pieces of plastic, of course, they can lead to starvation or suffocation. Some seabirds are able to regurgitate pieces of plastic, but petrels, for example, find this difficult. Many species of seabirds have also been found feeding plastic pieces to their young. Plastic debris is said to cause the death of more than 1 million seabirds each year. Hundreds of fish species, including many that humans consume, have been found with traces of microplastics in their bodies. In a study summarizing over 100 research papers on fish and plastic ingestion among 500 fish species, over 2/3 had consumed plastic. Fish often mistake small plastic pieces, such as pellets, for food. So, when mollusks, such as mussels and oysters, filter seawater to feed, those are filter feeders, they also take in human-created pollutants, including microplastic. Now, in a recent study of mussels sourced from UK waters, 100% of samples were found to contain microplastic pieces. And though this was sourced from the UK, we can just imagine what is happening in our waters in the Caribbean. So we've highlighted a bit of the problems, and we can answer any question with this. I believe the question should have also asked about what we could do to actually mitigate or to just solve this problem. Now, there needs to be focus on preventing the problem at the source. And this is what the Flora and Fauna International has said. Measures need to be taken to minimize plastic leakage into the natural environment. We should focus on making plastics less toxic and increasing the likelihood that plastics can be reused, repurposed, or recycled effectively. So we should look at the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. And there just needs to be a general change in how we view and use plastic. And we should move away from treating plastic as a waste material. Now, what have we done in Jamaica? Let's see what has been done to actually, move towards, solving this problem that we have. On December 24, 2018, the following ministerial orders were put forward: the Natural Resources Conservation Authority Act, the Natural Resources Conservation Plastic Packaging Materials Prohibition Order 2018, the Trade Act, the Plastic Packaging Material Prohibition Order of 2018. Now, anyone who committed an offense in contravention of the orders was liable on summary conviction before a judge of a parish court to a fine not exceeding $50,000 under the NRCA Act and $2 million under the Trade Act, or imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years. We also had measures implemented. There is a ban on single-use plastic carrier or shopping bags. Phase 1, as of January 1, 2019, the government imposed a ban on the import, manufacture, distribution, and use of all single-use plastic carrier bags with dimensions at and below 24 inches by 24 inches, which included those bags commonly referred to locally as scandal bags and the t-shirt bags used primarily in the retail and wholesale sectors. In some instances, the use of plastic bags was allowed. However, manufacturers had to apply to the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, for exemptions. We also had the implementation of a ban on styrofoam. We spoke about styrofoam, polystyrene in earlier videos. You can check out the link in the description below for that one. Now, on January 1, 2019, the government instituted a ban on the importation of expanded polystyrene foam, commonly referred to as styrofoam. That's a trademark. And that's for use as finished goods in the food and beverage industry. That is food and beverage containers. Phase 2. So in addition, the local manufacture and distribution of polystyrene foam for use as finished goods in the food and beverage industry was banned as at January 1, 2020. There are other measures implemented. The ban on plastic straws. So on January 1, 2019, the government instituted a ban on the import and manufacture of plastic drinking straws. On January 1, 2021, the importation of straws attached to lunch juice boxes and drink pouches was banned. However, an extension has been granted or was granted for 6 months before enforcement would take place. Now, we also have the Recycling Partners of Jamaica, which is a charitable organization born out of private-public partnership between certain bottlers, beverage owners, and bottle manufacturers in Jamaica. The Recycling Partners of Jamaica, RPJ's primary objective is to eliminate plastic waste from the Jamaican environment by engendering consistent and wholesale stakeholder participation and national and public awareness. In 2018, the private sector proposed that instead of placing a tax on sodas and plastic bottles, that the private sector implement the DRS through the RPJs, resourcing the DRS through a self-imposed cess. The intention there was to achieve 33% recovery rate in 2021, increasing to 65% recovery rate by 2023 for PET and high-density polyethylene bottles, that's HDPE. Now, the Recycling Partners of Jamaica opened its new headquarters in June 2020. The company continues to procure the needed equipment to ensure that present and proposed depot are appropriately outfitted. Effective May 1, 2021, the deposit refund amount was increased to $25 per pound or Jamaican $50 per kg of bottles that were brought in. This represents a substantive increase from Jamaican $8 to $10 per pound that was previously paid. All right, so there's a compensation system in place. All right, so this is something that school children can actually take part in, participate in. Many communities, you'll see at the entrance, this cage that the RPJ has for persons to actually save their bottles, package them, and put them there. And I mean, it's not something to get rich from, but that's something, we can earn while we're actually protecting the environment. So I intend to, well, I've implemented that. We package all our bottles, and whatever money we get from it, that will go to the kids. They can learn to save from there. So we can have fun while we're doing it, and we're contributing to the preservation of our biodiversity. So we need to think long term. All right, so I'm gonna close off. I think this has been enough talk, but that question just sent me down a crab hole, not a rabbit hole. It sent me down a crab hole, and boy, I just had to say this. So today being World Ocean Day, let us look at what we can do with what we have in our hands. So we have a bottle, we put it where it should go. If we throw it outside, we're contributing to the problem. These bottles, they get washed down waterways, the block drains, and at times they eventually reach the ocean, and that's where we have the problem. So let us look at what else we can do. And before we go, just a reminder, just a message. I actually like the vibe of this ad. Just a message. All right, so Chem with Chem is not just about chemistry. We look at how chemistry affects us, how chemistry affects the environment, how we can, have harmony or equilibrium with, man and the environment. It's not just about balancing equations. So let's just check this out. I hope you like this ad. Practice what's in there. All right.
Recycling Partners of Jamaica. Yeah, we got to make a change, and we have to do it now, can't wait for later. We put plastic in its place, and we all can agree that will be safer than in the gullies and in the drains. Recycling Partners of Jamaica. We put plastic in its place, yeah, the place of the clean. PET the top of ethylene, HDPE, buckle up, you get screen. Baby to granny, everybody roping. You we got to go green, you know what I mean. See the sign from the bin, if you drop it in, through car window, you flick, that another thing. And we don't want no garbage in this game. No, we are the little bug, them are not the same. So listen up, Jamaica, I'm saying it's time to make a change. Recycling partners of Jamaica, we put plastic in its place, and we all can agree that will be safer than in the gullies in the every rains. Recycling partners of Jamaica, we put plastic in its place.
All right, and just like that, we've come to the end of another session, a different session this time. Today is World Ocean Day. All right, so see you in the next video. Stay tuned to the channel to see the full workout of the same paper that this question came from, the May-June 2023 chemistry paper. Couple later.